Let's dig deeper now with Frank Luntz. He's a pollster and a communications strategist. Frank, always great to have you on. I want to start with Donald Trump taking to X with Elon Musk. The campaign says they were seeking to engage these non-traditional voters, something that's been a focus for the Trump team, these first-time or low propensity voters. How much do you think that demographic can make a difference in November?
It's significant. It's what he did in 2016. It's what campaigns that have been successful over the last decade have done, bringing new people into the electoral pool. It's difficult because there's a reason why they haven't voted. Either they don't care, or they don't like anybody, or they don't see that it impacts them in a personal way. I commend the Trump campaign. It's the candidate that's problematic. The candidate who can't stick to issues like inflation or immigration, can't stick to policies that the public supports, that instead he has to deliver attacks against a president who's not running against him. What people think of Joe Biden has no impact on Kamala Harris. And it's actually damaging Trump's efforts right now at a time when the nation is so evenly polarized, so hostile to each other. So yes, it is a very effective strategy at adding to the voter pool and increasing the opportunity to win votes. But it's very ineffective when you're communicating to the public on things that they don't care about or even find offensive.
On the other side, I'm curious to get your perspective on Kamala Harris laying out her policy vision when it comes to the economy later this week in North Carolina, something that has been a liability for the Biden administration. What do you think she needs to do to sway voters to her side on that issue?
The key is affordability. It's not inflation. Inflation is what you and I say. Affordability is what the average American feels. And in the story before setting this up, you communicated that it's of things that people care about. Housing and healthcare, which is very expensive. Food and fuel, which is day-to-day items. And the public believes that no matter what inflation is right now, they're looking at it over the last 4 years. And that's a dangerous situation for Harris. She wants to get ahead of it. So it's smart for her to be doing it. And in fact, she doesn't really have a choice. Now that she's the candidate, she's going to have to draw a contrast because the public does not believe that Joe Biden was affected by inflation. And they do give Trump credit in his administration for numbers that we haven't seen since he was president. One last thing about inflation. Everyone feels it. Doesn't matter whether you're working paycheck to paycheck or whether you're middle class. Doesn't matter whether you're from Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Nevada, Arizona, the South, Georgia, North Carolina. Because it's so universal and it impacts everyone from whether they're 18 years old or 80 years old. This is the key issue because everyone feels it. And Harris has a way to go to show that her policies aren't going to make a tough situation even worse.
Frank, from both big parties to a third party, there were two pieces that caught my eye recently on RFK Jr. There was USA Today saying that his campaign is imploding, but he can still be an electoral problem for Trump. And then the Washington Post essentially saying RFK Jr. is now hurting Donald Trump. Do you think his campaign makes it to November? And who do you think he would draw voters from most?
Well, the question is, it's a great question, and it's an issue of what percentage does he get? Because for 2%, 3% of the electorate, the smallest percentage, he's actually drawing votes away from Donald Trump more than Harris. However, when he was getting up to 8, 10, 12% of the vote, not more than 60 days ago, he was drawing more votes from Harris than he was from Trump. In the end, he's got to get on the ballot. So no matter what he's getting in national data, he's not on the ballot in almost all the swing states, so he will be a non-factor. Second is that with Harris now in the race, the excitement, the energy, she's brought out brand new voters, younger women who were not participating in the election campaign, and they see something in her that they did not see in Trump. A lot of Bobby Kennedy's vote, the reason why Harris has gone up so much in the last 3 weeks, is that she's basically sucked in the undecided and sucked in Bobby Kennedy's vote. And I expect him to be more damaging to Trump in the end than to Vice President Harris.
That is fascinating. Frank, I also want to get your perspective on the idea of a post-convention bump and how this sort of unprecedented streak of news that we've had over the last month and a half or so might have changed that. There are folks out there who have argued that for Republicans, that post-convention bump came early because of the attempt on former President Trump's life, and that for Democrats, the DNC bump came early because Kamala Harris was announced essentially as the effective nominee for the Democratic Party. Do you believe that that bump still occurs the way that it used to historically, and whether it's been sort of truncated or advanced by the way that we've seen the news cycle develop?
It's a fair question, but I'm not going to duck it. I'm going to try to adjust it, because what really matters is that debate on September 10th. When you see both candidates side by side, and they both are answering the same questions at the same time and challenging each other, whether she gets no bump or 2 points, whether it was before or after the convention, in the end, it is that side-by-side comparison that's going to make the entire difference in this campaign. And the question is the Harris message stronger than the Trump message? And I will tell you this, if it's just about policies, just about issues, Trump has the advantage. If it's about candidate traits and attributes and who the people are, Harris has the advantage. So both sides have a strength, both sides have a weakness, and frankly, it's just simply too close to call.
Frank Luntz, always great to get your perspective on things. Thanks for joining us.
I appreciate it. Thank you.